Happy Monday morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the Cam Rogers Show on this March 5th, 2018. I'm Cam Rogers. Check me out on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. Episode 73. I've got you covered for the next hour, and I've got you with all of the latest NFL headlines, storylines, and rumors. Jarvis Landry, what's the deal with him? Talk a little bit about Le'Veon Bell. Will he get the franchise tag? Are the Falcons going to make a trade for Michael Bennett? All that and coming up in a matter of seconds. And then Harris Rubenstein is back on for popular demand, shall we say. He did a good job last week. We're bringing him back for the latest NBA power rankings. And then with time permitting, a final word, and I'm telling you who won the combine at the quarterback position. It's a name that was not getting a lot of hype going into the combine, but I certainly think he impressed me. This is the Cam Rogers Show here on Facebook Live. We are presented by Autolist. Are you tired of browsing a million sites looking for that dream used or new car? Autolist.com saves you so much time. That's the only site you need to go out and find that brand new car or used car out there. Autolist sponsoring today's show. So as we check in with the latest news across the National Football League, we'll start things off with the combine here. And Shaquem Griffin stole a lot of headlines the last couple of days. And the linebacker out of UCF did a fantastic job on the 40-yard dash time, 4.38 seconds. The fastest for a linebacker in over a decade. And, of course, Shaquem Griffin is the brother of Shaquem, and his official 40-yard dash time was also 4.3 seconds. So I guess birds of a feather flock together. I don't know. But Griffin had 20 reps on the bench at 225 pounds, utilizing, by the way, a prosthetic due to his missing hand, which was amputated at a very young age. So really a fantastic story at that, and scouts project Griffin as a core special teams type of player who could develop into maybe an outside linebacker or strong safety. You know, it's interesting, at the Senior Bowl, Shaquem Griffin played at all three levels of the defense. Played at the line, linebacker, and safety. And Griffin, of course, was a fantastic player at UCF, primarily as a pass rusher for the last 2 seasons, won defensive MVP of the Peach Bowl, where he made 12 tackles with 3.5 tackles for loss, including 1.5 sacks and a win over Auburn to complete that 13-0 national championship season, shall we say. He is attempting to become the first one-handed NFL player in the modern era, and I was watching the tape, and Pete Carroll got noticeably hyped up after Shaquem's 40-yard dash. So as of now, he's a predicted 5th-round pick here. But maybe he joins his brother, Shaquille, out there in Seattle. So we shall see. Shaquem Griffin making some big-time headlines, and really a fantastic story at that. Let's get into the next headline here. Ryan Shazier, will he return to the NFL? Well, he won't be coming back in 2018. That we know. But he is planning on a return to the National Football League at some point. Shazier was on a call recently with Rich Eisen and Mike Mayock, and he was adamant he's returning to football. He does understand that recovery is going to take some time, and Pittsburgh Steelers scout Mark Gorsak dedicated linebacker workouts at the Combine to Shazier, so a nice little story there. Shazier has rehab 4 times a week. He was talking about that and says he's getting better every single day. Reality is, and I think he knows it, he's not going to play in 2018, but Shazier could eye a comeback maybe down the line further, 2019, etc. Just 25 years old, by the way. He's not an old geezer by any means, so he's got a lot of promise ahead of him, a lot of more great football in the future for Ryan Shazier. And, you know, he was talking about the process and the injury and all that, and he had this, quote, why me kind of moment that I can't really imagine. And I actually thought about this when Ryan Shazier got hurt was, boy, when that went down and he's going through the recovery process and he's in the hospital and he's got all the time in the world to really think back and recap what just happened, having this why me kind of mentality, it's hard to prevent. And it kind of crossed my mind. I mean, I probably assumed it'd probably go through my mind too if I went through this kind of injury. Like, out of all the people in the world, why is it me that has to go through this process? So really, really tough situation, really tough injury there for Ryan Shazier, but he is planning on returning to football, so that is really good news. All right, next headline here. The Eagles, will they keep Vinny Curry? He had a good year at the defensive end position, but the Eagles, they're strapped for cash in terms of the salary cap space, and they need to make some cuts here to free some stuff up and free some space up. So apparently one of those decisions was to cut Vinny Curry. At least that was the initial report. But recent developments suggest the Eagles and Curry are actually negotiating a lower salary. So Curry is due to make $9 million in 2018, and his departure would save the Eagles $5 million in their 2018 cap. So Curry, of course, a 2012 second rounder, had 22 sacks and 5 forced fumbles his past 6 seasons, and with 2017 first-round pick Derek Barnett waiting in the wing here, maybe Curry is somewhat expendable. And the Philadelphia Eagles have a very deep defensive line. Timmy Jernigan, Fletcher Cox, the list goes on. Brandon Graham, etc. So maybe Vinny Curry is a guy that the Philadelphia Eagles could kind of let go. But the recent reports suggest that the Eagles would like to keep him. Just comes down to financials. Will Vinny Curry take less money after winning a Super Bowl, which seems to be counterintuitive because when you win a Super Bowl and you have a ring, you kind of use that supply and demand curve to your benefit, if you will, where the demand is probably a little higher for this guy after winning a Super Bowl and having a pretty darn good season. So that is the latest with Vinny Curry. The reality for the Philadelphia Eagles, though, they have to make some tough decisions and probably some tough salary cap casualties. But do let me know in the comments section what your thoughts are on the Philadelphia Eagles and whether or not they can repeat as Super Bowl champions, right? I mean, if Nick Foles can do it at the quarterback position, you bring in Carson Wentz, presumably going to be healthy, hey, why not? And everybody chiming in the comments section here on the Cam Rogers Show on this Monday morning. We do appreciate it. Jay getting going on the comments section. So step aside, She-Girls. Dallas got this. LOL. Ooh, all right, Jay. Cowboys faithful coming in hot on the Cam Rogers Show this morning. One of our frequent watchers here on the show. We appreciate the comments, Jay. Thanks so much for coming along for the ride here. Let's go into a potential trade that could go down. Michael Bennett. So the Falcons are inquiring about getting Michael Bennett, and this makes sense from a standpoint of need because Dontari Poe is going to walk into free agency. All signs point to that. So there is a hole there on the defensive line, and Michael Bennett could come in. Of course, Bennett signed a 3-year extension in December of 2016, and the Falcons are one of multiple teams, by the way, inquiring about Michael Bennett, but the Falcons seem to be the front runner according to my reading, my research, and for Bennett's contract, 3 years remaining with base salaries of $1.65 million, then $6 million, then $7.5 million, and you, of course, have that Dan Quinn connection with Michael Bennett. Quinn, of course, former defensive coordinator and defensive line coach in Seattle, and so he knows Michael Bennett very well. Pricing will be interesting to monitor here, but the last time the Falcons traded for a veteran starter, they surrendered 2 6th-round picks to Tennessee for left guard Andy Levitre. It will be very intriguing to see how much Michael Bennett will go for. And the Falcons, by the way, they're in good shape on that front seven. They really impressed me last year. Have a couple of fantastic young edge rushers and Vic Beasley and Tack McKinley. And you got Grady Jarrett there, too, who had a really fantastic year. So everything's on the upswing, except the departure of Dontari Poe could leave a little bit of a hole there. So the Falcons see that. They're in talks with Seattle right now and perhaps getting Bennett to head on over to Georgia. All right, let's check in with Jarvis Landry. He's one of the big-time storylines this offseason. So the report is that Landry intends to sign the franchise tag, which would pay him around $16 million in 2018 if the Dolphins keep him. But signing the tag really means that, okay, now I can be traded. And another little subplot in the Jarvis Landry headline is, well, the Dolphins gave Landry permission to go out and talk with other teams to perhaps facilitate some sort of trade. And you all know probably by now that it's a non-exclusive rights franchise tag, which means other teams can freely negotiate with Jarvis Landry and also match whatever offer the Dolphins have on their table. But we're not even going to look at that because if they go that route, any team out there, outbids the Miami Dolphins, they're going to have to compensate the Dolphins with 2 first-round picks. That's not happening. So the other avenues would be a trade. The Dolphins sign an extension with Landry before that July 16th deadline, or Landry plays out 2018 under the franchise tag, earning roughly $16 million. So at least 5 teams are in negotiations with Jarvis Landry as we stand, according to what I understand. And the Chicago Bears and the Baltimore Ravens are reportedly the front runners for the wide receiver. And Landry, just 25 years old, has 400 receptions, 22 touchdowns, and 3 Pro Bowl appearances since he entered the league in 2014. Which team will Landry play for in 2018? Open up that crystal ball for me as you watch the Cam Rogers Show and hit me with the respective reaction. Give us a heart for the Ravens, a like for the Bears, laughing face for the San Francisco 49ers, or a wow face if you think it's another team. And for that other team, hit me in the comments section. Let me know which team that will be. I'm hearing maybe the Tennessee Titans would be an interesting option. Some other teams out there as well. So be sure to let me know here on the Cam Rogers Show, because we don't suggest your participation. We demand your participation. So be sure to hit me up with those reactions. Let's check in with Kirk Cousins. What's the latest with him? So it's a 4-team race from what I understand. Cardinals, Jets, Vikings, and Broncos all in on the Kirk Cousins sweepstakes. And the Minnesota Vikings are reportedly the front runner to land the former Washington Redskin quarterback. And New York media actually recently reported that the Jets leadership actually fears that Kirk Cousins could be headed to the Vikings after speaking with sources within the Cousins camp. So the Jets are worried that their blank check, in a sense, because they have a lot of salary cap space, will not be enough to land Kirk Cousins, and the Vikings might be able to sweep up Kirk from the Denver Broncos, Arizona Cardinals as well. So from what I've gathered, Cousins' priority is win now more so than money, especially after making a good chunk of change playing under the franchise tag for the Redskins the last couple of years, making $43.9 million the last 2 years. It's a pretty good amount of money. And so Kirk Cousins apparently is willing to sacrifice some salary for an opportunity to win a ring. And if we are going off of that thinking from Kirk, that would make the Vikings and the Broncos 1 and 2 in terms of priority. And the Vikings, obviously, among this list here, are in the best position to win a Super Bowl next season because they have the complete defense. That's fantastic. They have Dalvin Cook coming back at the running back position. A couple of fantastic wide receivers in Thielen and Stephon Diggs. It's all there for Kirk Cousins if he wants to go. But something tells me that the Denver Broncos are going to be very, very active this offseason to really reel in Kirk Cousins over to Mile High. And the Broncos are expected to clear roughly around $40 million in cap space to make a run at Kirk Cousins. And let's say they whiff on Kirk. I'm expecting the Denver Broncos to make a run at Case Keenum. If the Vikings miss out on Cousins, apparently they're going to be looking into A.J. McCarron as plan B. So keep an eye on those 2 names as well. So Kirk Cousins has narrowed it down to Cardinals, Jets, Vikings, and Broncos, and the chase is on for the best quarterback in free agency this offseason. All right, let's go into Saquon Barkley. Will he go number 1 overall in the 2018 NFL Draft? After a fantastic combine performance, there's no doubt about it, the Barkley buzz is happening. You got to love that alliteration, Barkley buzz. Start spreading it around. Ian Rappaport suggested Barkley is firmly in the mix to go number 1 overall, and a running back hasn't gone number 1 overall since 1995, folks. So within this millennium, a running back has not gone number 1 overall. The Browns have the number 4 overall pick as well. And I think it's possible that Barkley doesn't make it that far to number 4. So if the Browns think that is the case, and perhaps they weigh Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, and Baker Mayfield all on that same plateau, go ahead, draft Saquon Barkley at number 1, and then get either a Baker, an Allen, a Rosen, or a Darnold at number 4. But if the Browns fall in love with one quarterback over the other 3, then maybe Cleveland's going to have to pass on Saquon and pray that he falls to them at number 4. So who will go number 1 overall in the 2018 draft? I bring up this question again because apparently it's not so clear. You know, there's an argument to be made now that Saquon Barkley could be the top dog once the 2018 NFL draft comes around. Maybe people are starting to buy into the Josh Allen hype after the very solid combine that he had. Maybe people are starting to feel a little wary about Josh Rosen. Didn't have the greatest combine over the weekend. So I think it's a really interesting question to start weighing around. I mean, you see at the bottom of the graphic that we had up there on Saquon, 4.41, 40-yard dash, 29 reps on the bench, 41-inch vertical, an absolute freak athlete, and I can't wait to watch him in the NFL. But which team will he play for? That's the big-time question mark. How about this question mark? Dez Bryant, will he return to the Dallas Cowboys? So Jerry Jones continues to play the good cop in the Dez Bryant saga. He suggested at this time Dez will remain with the Dallas Cowboys, saying, quote, "As I sit here, do we want him on the team next year?" The answer is yes, and Bryant is set to make $12.5 million and count $16.5 million against the salary cap in 2018. Meanwhile, Stephen Jones is kind of the bad cop in all of this, saying stuff like, well, Dez Bryant has a tendency to be a distraction, mentioned a few times that the contract needs to be addressed, and the Cowboys could save as much as $12.5 million if Dez Bryant is cut after that June 1st line there. If it's before June 1st, the savings is smaller. It's around the $8 million mark. Dez would still count $4 million against the 2019 cap if he is cut after the June 1st line. So should the Cowboys cut Dez Bryant? Give me a heart for yes, a like for no. It's one of the more polarizing storylines so far this offseason. There are arguments to be made on both sides. Tom Downey, the fantastic host of the Cowboys Report here, is very much in the camp that the Cowboys should not cut Dez Bryant because who are you going to get in return, while other people out there say, yes, get rid of him, it's time to move on. So be sure to hit that heart or like button depending on how you feel. If you're watching on YouTube, by the way, be sure to throw in that heart and like or thumbs up, if you will, into the comment section too. All right, finally, this one came through the wires early this morning. Le'Veon Bell expected to get the franchise tag before the deadline tomorrow at 4 p.m. And it looks like the Steelers and Bell could not come to a long-term agreement before that deadline. So you buy a little bit more time by giving Le'Veon Bell the franchise tag, because then the Steelers have until July 16th to get a long-term deal done. The big question mark about Le'Veon, will he sign that franchise tag? Kind of like how we wondered, would Jarvis Landry sign that franchise tag? And we do know that he's going to do that, but Le'Veon Bell, totally different story here. He wants to get paid as a number 2 wide receiver in the National Football League and a number 1 running back. He wants to be valued. I understand it. And this could go deep into June. I mean, there could be a scenario where Le'Veon Bell doesn't show up for off-season workouts, etc. So he's going to get the franchise tag before the deadline. All signs point to that. But from there on out, a lot of uncertainty with Le'Veon Bell. Those are your latest NFL headlines, news, and rumors here on the Cam Rogers Show. We're going to pull a little bit of a 180 here and talk a little NBA with my guy, Harris Rubenstein, on set. How we doing, sir?
Doing okay. How you doing?
Doing fantastic, my man. And you had an opportunity to watch some NBA over the weekend.
I did.
You updated your NBA power rankings.
I did. The Kings are still last, but Scalabassier did hit a very nice game winner the other night, which made Zach Randolph very proud. Yes, good for you, Kings.
Well, let's start off with those Kings. You got them checking in at number 30 in our rankings here. Any opportunity for them to move up at all?
They are. I'm going to dub them something. They are officially the bad, fun team of the NBA. They're horrible. They're terrible. They're not a good basketball team, but De'Aaron Fox is super fun to watch when he gets to start. Scalabassier has been playing good minutes. Bogdan Bogdanovic has been nuts for the Kings the past couple weeks, but it's still the Kings. They're still horrible. They're just kind of fun to watch on Game Pass every so often, and, you know, that's just kind of where the buck stops for the Kings. They're not very good.
Sacramento Kings are at number 30 in Harris's NBA Power Rankings. Number 29, the Atlanta Hawks.
I called my shot, Cam. I said on your show that the Hawks needed to get rid of Ersan Ilyasova and put John Collins into the starting lineup. And guess what the Hawks did? They cut Ersan Ilyasova and they put John Collins into the starting lineup, and he's been great.
Were they watching my show?
They might have been. Look, he put up 16 and 9 against the Warriors the other night. He went 7 of 8 from the field. He's forcing free throws. He's playing good defense. He's blocking shots. Look at John Collins has been great for them so far. I'm kind of bummed because I wanted him to go to a different system. I thought he would have been. Better in a place like Indiana, maybe playing more of a power forward position next to Miles Turner. But look, he's been playing great for Atlanta since he's been put in the starting lineup since the All-Star break. I'm happy. They listened to me. I was right about something. I got one.
All right.
Nailed it.
The Atlanta Falcons check in at number 29. Thank you, Falcons leadership, for watching the show. Let's go to number 28, the Phoenix Suns, Harris. What do we make of them?
Well, the last time we talked about the Suns, they were kind of doing okay. They're doing a little bit better, but they're just horrible. And it's weird because now we're starting to talk about, is Devin Booker actually good? Or is Devin Booker just the only option on maybe the worst offensive team in basketball? The reason they're 19th in points scored, by the way, is because of Devin Booker. He's averaging 35 points a game. His last 5 games, he's having an amazing season again at basically 20 years old. You know, what were you doing at Cam, 20 years old?
Nothing like what Devin Booker is doing.
For Maryland and New football.
Exactly.
He's averaging 35 points per game in the NBA. So, look, they can't win games. They won like 1 game in their past 12 tries. This is a terrible, terrible team. The only reason I don't have them last is because they have Devin Booker, who should be an all-star every single year.
Devin Booker is the 4th player in NBA history with at least 40 30-point games prior to turning 22, joining LeBron, Durant, and Carmelo.
He's absolutely mad. Wow. I think he's going to end up going down as one of the best shooting guards of our generation. He just plays for such a garbage team.
Fun to watch. Phoenix Suns at number 28. Let's go to number 27. The Memphis Grizzlies. Is there anything positive to say about that?
No. I wanted so badly to put them at 30. I really did, because everything is bad. They're horrible. They are a terrible, terrible basketball team. They have no direction whatsoever. If I am correct, if my memory serves me correctly, I do believe that they are on about, I believe, a 10-game losing streak as of right now. They have been, without question, the worst team in the NBA since the All-Star break. Yes, they're on a 13-game losing streak with a point differential of -5. Look, they're horrible. They're a bad team. They can't win at home. They can't win on the road. Marc Gasol shouldn't be on this team anymore. They should have traded Tyreek Evans. Everyone's getting hurt. They have no young guys to build around. This right now, the Memphis Grizzlies went from being a perennial playoff team to maybe being in the worst spot of any team in the NBA right now. They have no one to build around. They have so much money on the books. They have a terrible front office and a mediocre head coach. I think that if you're doing like a future power rankings like they like to do in baseball with farm systems and this and that, the Grizzlies are last. They have nothing to build around right now.
So it's kind of bad.
It's bad. It's horrible. Everything is bad.
Grizzlies at 27. Number
Terrible.
26, the team that's not too far from us here in Dallas, the Mavs.
At this point, it's only fun because you're just watching Dennis Smith Jr., but I think there's something wrong with his jump shot. He can't shoot threes. It might just be because he's young. He's obviously he can only really drive to one side. He only really uses his right hand, but he can't shoot, and it's becoming a real big problem for this Mavericks team overall that they have a point guard who he doesn't really move the ball that well. He isn't a great defender.
So is he a point guard?
He is a point guard. It's just he's so raw still. And I think that after playing, we're about 50 plus games in the season now, almost 60. We're seeing all the problems that we knew going into the draft with Dennis Smith Jr. is that he's so raw, but he has so much potential still. But as of right now, as an NBA player, he can't really pass. He can't really shoot. He doesn't have great handles. All he's really good at doing right now is driving to the hoop and getting free throws, which only takes you so far in the NBA.
So on Friday, the Mavericks led the Bulls by 11 points with 10 minutes left to play, Harris, but were outscored 28-9 the rest of the way in that loss. It was their league-leading 5th loss of the season. Ready? By leading by double figures with 10 minutes to play in the 4th quarter.
I feel so bad.
That's not how you get fans to show up.
Poor Rick Carlisle, man. Rick Carlisle does not deserve this abuse of a bad team.
Dallas Mavericks are checking in at number 26 in our NBA Power Rankings. Number 25 now, the Orlando Magic. What do we make of the Magic here?
Oh, just like the Grizzlies, everything is bad. The only good player on their team currently is Aaron Gordon, and they won't give him the ball. It's one of the weirdest things that I've seen in the NBA where his usage rate should be probably in the top 15 players in the NBA because they have no one really else on their team that's any good. And they got rid of their point guard in Alfred Payton. But instead, he's about kind of middle tier in the NBA in terms of usage rate, but he's the only good player on the team. Jonathan Simmons should be a bench guy on a playoff team. This team doesn't make any sense. I'll put it this way. If you're drafting players, you need to draft players in a way that makes sense. And you're building a team. They aren't building anything. They're just drafting random players. Why did they draft Jonathan Isaac when they already had Aaron Gordon? Maybe they were planning on letting Aaron Gordon go. Fine, but who's going to score points? Who's going to do anything? Who's going to put butts in seats? I don't understand what the Magic are doing. This has been their franchise since they got rid of Shaq. Get the Magic off the screen. We don't need to talk about them.
They're scoring, though.
They score points because they're a weird team. They don't play defense. If you look at the amount of possessions that they play every single game, it's one of the biggest numbers in the NBA. There's just so many possessions over and over and over again. Sure, they score points, but they're also one of the worst defensive teams in basketball. Not a good fan.
All right, Orlando Magic checking in at number 25. Let's go to number 24 now. The Brooklyn Nets.
I love the Nets.
Went 1-3 last week.
Yeah, no, they're not good. I wish they were better, and I want them to be better because I think that they have a great coach, and I think that the overall roster is really, it's interesting. It's fascinating. It pieces together really well, but the problem is that they're so bad in the fourth quarter. They just can't get anything going. Like when they blow leads all over the place. They don't really have a go-to scorer yet on the team, and that's kind of the biggest problem. D'Angelo Russell has been really bad for about a month now. I've lost so much hope on the Nets, but the biggest problem with them is that they obviously don't have a first-round pick. The Cavs have their pick, so the worse that they get, the worse it seems. But I gotta say, their experiment of just picking up all these terrible players on these terrible contracts, it was fun because they used to have a lot of upside. Now it just looks like a bad decision.
Brooklyn Nets are at number 24. Let's take a look at number 23 now, the Chicago Bulls.
I love the Chicago Bulls. This is one of the most sneaky, fun teams in the NBA because, to be totally honest, they haven't been totally abysmal. They aren't winning games, but they've been in a lot of games until the fourth quarter, and that shows you like what a young team is. Most young teams, they fold in the fourth quarter, like the 76ers, who are one of the worst fourth quarter teams in the NBA. But the Bulls are the same concept. You know, they have a lot of fun young players. Zach LaVine, Bobby Portis has been ridiculous for about the past month now, averaging almost a double-double. He put up 38 points the other night, which just makes absolutely no sense for Bobby Portis. But they're in every single game. They can beat teams that are worse than them usually. They don't really have a chance against better teams, but they're just kind of fun to watch. And I think for a Chicago Bulls fan, that's all you really want. You want a team that's fun to watch, that's going to have a high draft pick. I still think that this team with maybe a DeAndre Ayton or a Marvin Bagley or maybe even a Michael Porter Jr. if he does end up going in the top 5 of the draft, could be really fun for the Bulls. I like where they're doing. I like what they're doing. Remember I talked about with the Magic just drafting random players trying to make a team. The Bulls are making a team. Their positions make sense. They can actually move the ball and score. So this Bulls team is making a nice core.
All right, Chicago checking in at number 23. Let's take a look at number 22 now, the Taylor Swift number. New York Knicks, Harris.
No, poor Knicks. Sad. I don't even want to talk about the Knicks because it just makes me so sad that we don't get to watch Kristaps Porzingis drag them to the playoffs. Trey Burke has been really fun, and obviously we know that our CEO James Yoder absolutely loves it. But look, it's the Knicks. They're a totally abysmal team right now. They can't score. They don't play defense.
2-14 without Porzingis.
Yeah, it's just been really sad. The reason I have them so high is just
sentimental.
Mostly sentimental value. It's really unfortunate what's happened to them since Kristaps has gone down.
Poor Knicks. I mean, you want to talk about this millennium? They have won just one playoff series since 2000 to 2001 season.
Yeah, and do you know what the sad thing is that they had Melo for such a long time, and Carmelo Anthony, by the way, even the people that don't like him, he's a Hall of Fame player, and they just could never get anything going with him.
The Knicks check in at number 22. We got the Charlotte Hornets at number 21. You weren't really high on them last week, Harris.
No.
Has that changed at all?
Yes and no. It seems that they've apologized to Kemba Walker at least, and they aren't really pissing him off that well. They're on a 3-game losing streak right now, but they're 5-5 in their last 10. They had a really nice run coming out of the All-Star break where they won a couple games in a row. I believe that, yeah, they beat the Wizards. They beat a couple of bad teams as well, but then they got swept by the 3 good teams that they played. And that's kind of why I have it on here. They can't beat good teams. They can't. They lost to the Celtics, 76ers, and the Raptors in a row after beating the Wizards, the Pistons, and the Bulls. So they have a real issue actually beating good teams. I'm a little bit nervous about what this Hornets team is going to do in the offseason. I think they might blow it up, trade Kemba, trade Dwight Howard, trade Frank Kaminsky, get rid of all the guys and just start over. I don't really know what they're going to do at this point.
Charlotte Hornets are at number 21. Let's go to number 20 even, the Detroit Pistons. And Harris, I got to say, this seems kind of low for me. What do you make of the Pistons here at number 20?
I don't know why you'd say they're low. They aren't good. This is a basketball team that is created from a 2K idea, which is, what happens if we put Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond on the same team? Oh, yeah, that'll be really fun, except the rest of the team doesn't play defense. No one else on the team can score. They don't move the ball, and it just doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work. Like, you need to have a distributor. You need to have someone on the team that can move the ball around the court, that can actually shoot some threes and loosen up some tension at the bottom. But the problem is that with Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond, they clog up the lane. They don't allow anyone else to drive. They don't have a lot of shooters on the team. And again, they don't have a guard that plays defense. So you just end up with this weird team of they can't stop jump shooters, but they aren't a good defensive team down low because Blake Griffin is unfortunately massively overrated. This is a weird team. I think Stan Van Gundy might be on his way out.
Well, I was going to ask you about him. Is he on the hot seat? Is he done?
I think he's done. I think that we're seeing maybe the end of Stan Van Gundy as an NBA head coach. I just don't really know what he brings you. His offensive systems have not worked in decades now.
Okay, Detroit Pistons at number 20. Let's get into the teens now. And we'll check in with the Los Angeles Lakers at number 19, a possible LeBron destination. But let's talk about this season right now.
Well, as of right now, they've been great recently. Lonzo Ball has been fantastic. And look, I'm not an anti-Lonzo Ball person. I thought he was a little bit overrated coming out of the draft, and I think he was very overhyped. When Lonzo Ball came out of the draft, my number one piece that kept telling people, patience. Let the kid grow into a legitimate NBA player. And if you look at his first about 30 games in the NBA versus his last about 20, stark difference. He's shooting almost 40% from 3 in his last 15 games. His court vision is just unreal. You're finally seeing why he was drafted at number 2 overall. You're seeing the basketball IQ. You're seeing his ability to get teammates involved. You're seeing his ability to pass through traffic. You're seeing so much of his ability over the past couple months. And to be totally honest, it's no surprise to me that Brandon Ingram has been playing the best basketball of his career in the past 10 games. He's been spectacular. Both of them have been. And I think one has been great because of the other. They still don't play a lot of defense, but they're winning basketball games. They had a huge win against the Spurs a couple nights ago. I understand that it's obviously a Spurs team without Kawhi Leonard, but that's still a Spurs team that is way above 500 in San Antonio and been playing good basketball recently. I think the Lakers have started to turn a little bit of a corner. This has been really inspiring the past couple weeks.
Lonzo Ball is 14 for 22 in his last 4 games from 3 points.
He's been great.
Pretty good.
Good for Lonzo.
All right, so the Lakers are at number 19. We'll stay out west and take a look at the Los Angeles Clippers at number 18. Harris, before I let you talk, I want to give you this quote that I read somewhere, and I want to ask you if you agree with this. Quote, if Patrick Beverley and Avery Bradley were healthy, they would be deadly on both the offensive and defensive side of the balls.
That's been the Clippers every single year for the past decade. If the Clippers were healthy, they'd be amazing. If Chris Paul was healthy, they'd be amazing. If Blake Griffin didn't break his toe, they would have won the title. Injury, this, and this. Look, eventually at some point, you have to start asking the question, Cam.
Can they put up in,
No. Why do the Clippers keep getting so injured? It's every single year. This isn't like a 1 year, couple year thing. Why do the Clippers keep getting so injured? And I think there's only one place that you can point to. And I said this about Tom Thibodeau. I think it's Doc Rivers. I think Doc Rivers overplays his starters. I don't think he uses his bench efficiently. And I say this also as someone who watched a lot of the big three Boston Celtics growing up, and I watched Doc Rivers take about 2 or 3 elite years off of Kevin Garnett's career because he overplayed him while he had injuries. Look, I think this Clippers team is fun. I think the roster is good, but they can't stay healthy. And eventually, you have to start asking, why are they so injury prone? Why are all their players getting injured all the time? Blake Griffin is not a fragile guy. Blake Griffin is a big-bodied, thick player down low. Same thing with Chris Paul. These are tough NBA players, and then all of a sudden they all just start getting injured. I think there's something afoot here, Cam. I think we got to start looking at Doc Rivers.
LA Clippers are at number 18 in our power rankings. Let's go to number 17 now, a team that had a ton of momentum going into the All-Star break, but really haven't carried that in the post-All-Star break time, the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, and they've kind of come back down to earth, which, a little bit disappointing. I thought it was going to carry them into the playoffs. They have won their last 2 games, but they've only won 3 of their last 5. This was inevitable. They were going to come back down to earth. Donovan Mitchell was going to have to fall off eventually.
Law of averages.
Law of averages, correct. But, look, he's still been great. He's still the best player on the team. I don't know if he's the NBA Rookie of the Year. I've actually been asked that a couple times on Twitter, a couple times on YouTube as well. Oh, is Donovan Mitchell the Rookie of the Year? It's still Ben Simmons to me. It's still Ben Simmons. He's averaging almost a triple-double on a playoff team. Donovan Mitchell's been great, but he's also doing it on a bad team with a team that so far, by the way, has had one of the easiest schedules in the NBA. So I'm not crazy about the Jazz so far.
6 of Utah's next 9 games are against teams with at least 20 games below 500.
There you go. That's been their whole season.
Okay, so the Jazz are at 17. Justin Cage in the comment section. Where am I Heat at? Well, Justin.
Right here.
Right here, checking in at number 16 in Harris's power rankings. Are the Heat in this kind of purgatory of NBA playoff destination, but perhaps,
they're going to get blown out of the playoffs. Yeah. And the only real fun thing at this point is the fact that, Dwayne Wade has been great since he's come back. I like Dwayne Wade. I think he's been super fun, but at the end of the day, that game winner is really all he's going to give you. We really don't need to spend that much time on the Heat. They're going to get blown out of the playoffs.
Heat are at 16. Let's go to number 15, smack dab in the middle, the Denver Nuggets.
Well, I have a hot take about the Denver Nuggets, and I might get some slack about this on the YouTube comments and this and that. Jamal Murray and Gary Harris have been a top 5 backcourt in the NBA this season. I don't really know if you can make an argument against it anymore. They have been absolutely spectacular. They've carried the team all season long. Jamal Murray, I think, is going to end up being one of the 5 best point guards in the entire NBA. Gary Harris is one of the most underrated players in all of basketball. Jokic is playing well. Paul Millsap is finally back. I said it on your show last week when I was talking about the Denver Nuggets, that once Paul Millsap comes back, I really do think that once he came back, I think that this team is going to be scary in the playoffs. I don't think that they're a team that you can mess with. They've fallen off a little bit in terms of overall. Look, the bottom of the West right now is really, really thick, and it's tough to kind of go through. But I really think that this Nuggets team is going to be fierce in the playoffs. They're going to be a tough team, especially on the road.
All right, Denver Nuggets at number 15 in our rankings. Let's go to number 14 now, the Milwaukee Bucks. They had a big-time game against the 76ers yesterday. What do you think of the tape there?
Well, I'm a little bit worried about the Bucks because when we talked about them last, I talked about the upside that the team had and how I really thought that they were going to drive into the playoffs and really try to push through. But the problem is that they haven't done that. They've lost 4 of the last 5 games. They had a nice win last night against the 76ers, and there's no surprise to me that the reason they lost is because they didn't do anything in the fourth quarter to put the game away or in the second half in general. But look, the problem with this Bucks team remains the thing that's been the problem all season long. It's Giannis. The entire team is Giannis. And while that isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world, they need to be able to score points outside of just Giannis. Use the 76ers game, for example. Eric Bledsoe, 22 points. Jabari Parker, 13 points coming off the bench. Chris Middleton putting up 10 of his own. So they've been able to add points where they need to against decent to below average teams, but they have been able to beat good teams. They struggle heavily when Giannis isn't playing well. And to be totally honest, he has to play 40-plus minutes a night in order for them to win games, and they're still losing games.
Well, you're onto something with the bench. Milwaukee's bench is last in points per game this season.
It doesn't surprise me because, here, I'll list off their bench. Ready? Thon Maker, can't score. Tyler Zeller, can't score. Jason Terry, can't score. Shabazz Muhammad, can't score. These guys can't score. So all of a sudden you just have this bench made up of rando dudes, and it's a big problem. They need to address the bench. I thought they should have made a couple more trades at the deadline, but they blew their whole ammo on Eric Bledsoe, who's a nice player, but they needed more than just a score-first point guard. They needed a distributor, and they needed a sixth-man off the bench. They're really hoping that Jabari Parker comes around. But remember, this is the first real basketball he's played in almost 2 years.
Okay. Milwaukee Bucks are at number 14 in our NBA power rankings. We are presented by Autolist here on the Cam Rogers Show. We will continue on with the power rankings, but of course, Autolist saves you so much time when you are looking for that new or used car out there. Don't browse a million websites, Harris.
No.
Autolist.com is the way to go, my man.
You just need the one. You know what? I've been looking for a car, and Autolist has been the place that I've actually been going to the past couple days. Just literally used Autolist. That's all I've been. I try to use like 6 different sites. Then I just turn on Autolist. Wow, this is so much easier.
That's the website, but you can also get the app on Android and iPhone today. Autolist sponsoring episode 73 of the Cam Rogers Show. Let's take a look at number 13 in Harris's power rankings here, and we've got the Oklahoma City Thunder. Something tells me you have a lot to say about that.
I do have a lot to say about the Oklahoma City Thunder. This is without a question the most inconsistent team in the entire NBA. I have a big problem with them for mostly because they don't play defense when they need to. They have a huge problem in terms of being able to actually move the ball. They turn the ball over too much. Carmelo Anthony is now getting a ton of rest. I don't understand how this team is actually going to win a playoff series. I keep hearing from so many people, oh, they're going to beat the Warriors. Oh, they're going to beat the Rockets. Oh, this and that. They can't beat good teams right now. They can't get out of their own way. And I'm sorry, Cam. I think it's Russell Westbrook.
Really?
He has been shooting so poorly. You can make an argument he might be one of the worst jump shooters in the NBA so far this season. He has had a terrible three-point shot. He shot like 12% or something in the month of February from 3. I am so confused and conflicted about this Oklahoma City Thunder team. Because in theory, they should be one of the best teams in the NBA. But in actuality, they might be one of the most average teams in basketball.
Wow.
I don't think that this team is going anywhere in the playoffs. I think they might just get blown out in the first round at this point.
They put up 80 against the Warriors.
I don't understand what to make of this Thunder team. And do you know what the problem is? I don't think they do either. I don't think that they have a specific way that they can go into a game and say, this is how we're going to win. Because if their theory is we're just going to win by Russell Westbrook dropping triple-doubles every single night, he can't do that. He can't. That's not possible. He can't shoot threes well. So they just don't have a singular way to win. The Cavs do. Let LeBron win you games. But with Russell Westbrook, he's a little bit easier to defend, and he's not as consistent. And I think the Thunder go by the beat of his drum. If Russell Wilson is inconsistent, then so are the Thunder. When he isn't scoring, the Thunder aren't scoring. When he's not playing defense, neither is the team. So I question what they're going to do in the playoffs.
You know, it's not good when you're inconsistent. It's really not good when you can't self-diagnose.
Yes.
The problem.
That's been their problem all season long. They don't know what to make of their own roster.
All right, so the Thunder at number 13. Let's go to number 12 now. The 76ers, a team that is fun to watch, but they're outside the top 10.
They are outside my top 10. It's not because they aren't a good team, but mostly because they have an issue, Cam. Their issue is that their second best player on the team can't shoot, can't drive left, and is horrible in the fourth quarter. I think Joel Embiid proved himself this season that when he's healthy, he's one of the 20 best players in all of basketball. He's an elite player. He's incredible. Trust the process. But the problem is that Ben Simmons is not in a point in his NBA progression where he is good enough to carry a team throughout the playoffs. He can't shoot. He's basically useless in the fourth quarter because teams just leave him open on the perimeter. He can't drive left. He doesn't draw fouls. He's a great player, but he has a limit. And I think the problem that we're about to see, we'll bring up the way in here about LeBron.
Yep.
I really sat down and thought the other day, and I tried to draw out a couple diagrams. What do the 76ers look like with LeBron James on the team? How does it work? So let's say you take the ball out of Ben Simmons' hand and you let LeBron be the ball control. Okay, what do you do with Ben Simmons? You put him down low. Okay, so that pushes Joel Embiid out to the perimeter where he's like a 28% three-point shooter. Do you let Ben Simmons control the ball? Then all of a sudden LeBron James is a pure jump shooter and Embiid's still stuck down low and he can't move out to the perimeter because of Covington and LeBron James. So I question if the fit is there. I think it's a fun idea and concept. I think in 2K it's going to be very fun as well.
In 2K, yeah.
I very much question, how does it work in a basketball sense? How do you win games with the three of those guys? If Ben Simmons, Cam, he's made one. This is an incredible statistic. Ben Simmons, since high school, has made one three-pointer. One.
What?
1 3. He has made 1 3 since high school. All of LSU, all of this season, one 3-point shot he's made. One.
Wow.
It's incredible. He is so unlike anything that the NBA has either A, seen in a long time, or B, what fits into the modern day NBA. He showed up 20 years too late.
So I threw in the comment section here on Facebook Live using my account, will LeBron James join the 76ers? And it's a lot of fun in thought, but I don't know, like you said, if it really makes sense on the hardwood.
I don't know if it makes sense. If you're LeBron, I think he loves Embiid. I think he sees that Embiid is, the guy that Embiid is the center that he's always wanted to play with. But at the same time, does the rest of the team fit around him? I don't know.
A note on the 76ers at home to wrap up here. They have won 11 straight home games. That's the longest winning streak for that franchise since a 24-game streak in 1982 to 83. Philly won the NBA title that season, just saying. So 76ers are at number 12. Let's go to number 11, the Indiana Pacers. Somewhat of a surprising team this year.
I think they are the surprise team of the NBA, and I don't think they're getting enough press for being the surprise team. They're like, oh, we're trading Paul George, we're going to be this and that, and then Victor Oladipo has been incredible. Domantas Sabonis has been really good. This Pacers team is fun. They're 4th in the East right now. They're really tough out at home. They're 21-11 on their home court. Same record as the Cavs, by the way. They're not that great on the road, but the road records in the NBA this year have been all over the place. They've won 7 of their last 10 games. This is a good, well-coached, well-rounded basketball team. And I think that kind of goes back to the old Pacers teams. They play solid defense. They're able to score from the perimeter. They can score on you down low. They have good defense in the post. This is just a good, solid, consistent Eastern Conference basketball team. I don't think they're going anywhere, but I think that they're going to cause a lot of mayhem in the playoffs. I think that, for instance, let's say they go up against a Raptors or a Celtics team. They're going to run those guys out. They're going to tire them out. They're going to be really difficult to rebound from that series, kind of similar to what the Wizards did against the Celtics last year before they took on the Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yep.
They just ran them down. They tired them out, and by the time they took on the Cavs, Isaiah Thomas didn't have a hip left. The entire team was exhausted, and LeBron James ran right over them. If the Pacers go up against the Cavs, don't be surprised if they're able to take them to 6, maybe 7 games.
All right, so let's go into the top 10 now, ladies and gentlemen. New Orleans Pelicans check in at number 10. And what can we say about Anthony Davis?
It's more like the New Orleans Anthony Davis.
My God.
Because he's not from this planet. I'm sorry, James Harden. Anthony Davis has been the best player in the NBA for about maybe the past month. He's been absolutely incredible. The only reason that the Pelicans are anywhere near the top of any leaderboard right now is because he's been so good. They are 4th in the Western Conference right now. They have been better.
That's a great picture, by the way.
They've been better since they lost to Marcus Cousins. They've been better. They're on an 8-game winning streak. This is incredible. He is single-handedly, again, dragging them to the playoffs. They might end up with the top 5 seed in the Western Conference without DeMarcus Cousins because Anthony Davis has been so good. Now, credit. We're, 52 games into the season. We still have 30 games left to go, so a lot can still happen.
Right.
But I am flabbergasted of what Anthony Davis has been able to do.
Well, you look at the rankings, Harris. I mean, there's no reason to believe that a Minnesota Timberwolves team that's dealing with a Jimmy Butler injury is going to surpass the Pelicans. You got the Spurs without Kawhi. You got the Thunder that's inconsistent. There's positivity there.
He's cemented himself as one of the 5 best players in the NBA. For good. If you have any sort of top 5 players in the NBA list and Anthony Davis is not on it, you're better off just literally lighting your list on fire.
All right, so we got the Pelicans at number 10 now. About 10 minutes left on the Cam Rogers show here, so let's go into number 9. the Washington Wizards. Can Bradley Beal carry this team, Harris?
Well, I thought for a second that they might be better without John Wall. Then they proceeded to lose their last 3 games against 3 playoff teams in the Warriors, the Raptors, and the Pacers, and that answer has become no. Look, the Wizards can throttle all the mediocre playoff teams like the Cavs or any other bad team that they want to without John Wall. But John Wall is the difference maker on that team when they go up against good players. He is what takes their team to another level. He's what brings that extra spark. I don't think they're better without John Wall. I think that they play different brand of basketball without him. But at the same time, you have to look at the offensive system that Scott Brooks runs. For instance, go back and look at some of the games when he had Harden, Durant, and Westbrook. I think that if you look at their games without Russell Westbrook sometimes, where games that James Harden starts, of course James Harden looked better because Russell Westbrook isn't holding onto the ball for 30% of the time. Same concept with the Wizards. When John Wall isn't on the floor, Bradley Beal's touching the ball more, Otto Porter's touching the ball more, and without that, it's just a different brand of basketball. But look, NBA teams have adapted to it pretty quickly, especially the good ones. So I think the answer is no. The Wizards are not better without John Wall.
Washington Wizards are at number 9. Let's go to number 8 now. The Portland Trail Blazers. What's the diagnosis on this squad?
The diagnosis on the Portland Trail Blazers is that they've been freaking crazy, man. the Damian Lillard, I'm putting my foot down. Damian Lillard is the 3rd best point guard in the entire NBA. Wow. I'm putting my foot down. He is absolutely spectacular. If you want to choose a point guard to build a team around right now, outside of maybe Curry and James Harden, I think it's Damian Lillard, then maybe Kyrie Irving, and then after that, it's just kind of a bunch of dudes that aren't those top 4. Damian Lillard has solidified himself as one of the top 5 guards in the entire NBA, one of the top 15 players overall in all of basketball, and the Portland Trail Blazers have been absolutely riding him for the past couple weeks. They're on a 6-game win streak. They've won 8 of their last 10. They beat the Thunder. They beat the T-Wolves. They beat the Jazz. They beat the Warriors. And all because Damian Lillard has been off the absolute charts. I love this Trailblazers team. I think that they've really gotten to a point where they are one of the best teams in basketball.
Trailblazers are feeling it at number 8. This team at number 7 headed in the wrong direction. The San Antonio Spurs going 2-8 in its past 10 games. What's going on, Harris?
It's time to pray for Kawhi Leonard to come back. They've officially hit the limit of how much they can actually do without Kawhi Leonard. LaMarcus Aldridge is dealing with injuries. The rest of the lineup is getting old. Pau Gasol can't keep up anymore. This is a team that needs Kawhi Leonard to come back and add that spark. They need to get healthy. They need Kawhi back. They're on a 2-game losing streak. Like you said, they've won only 2 of their last 10 games. It's Kawhi time, baby. They need their star to come back and play. I wonder actually when he's going to come back at this point, if he hasn't come back already. But they need him to come back and come back soon, or they're going to fall maybe out of the playoff hunt.
Okay, the Spurs are at number 7. They got to turn it around. Let's go to the Cavaliers at number 6 now. Hey, Harris, the points allowed statistic, 0.1 differential before the All-Star break to now, the post-All-Star break. Not much improvement.
Who was right, Cam? Have I been right so far about the Cavs? Every single step of the way. They still don't play defense. They were 8 games better at this point last season. The roster is They're working with a bunch of spare tires around LeBron. LeBron looks like he's having a great time out there. But there's only one problem. They can't win games.
Yeah.
They lost to the Nuggets and the 76ers at home.
Ugh.
They gave up 126 points to the Nuggets at home. J.R. Smith is throwing chicken tortilla soup at assistant coaches. This is going completely off the rails. It is time to start considering whether or not this Cavs team is even a finals candidate anymore, and whether or not they're either going to get out of the Eastern Conference. You think that LeBron cares about winning the Eastern Conference? This is about titles. They're not winning the title this year. I'm tired of this. Stop thinking that this team has even a prayer of touching the Warriors. This team can't even beat the Rockets right now if they get to the finals. I'm tired of this. They can't play defense.
You got to wonder if the Cavs' ceiling is at number 6 in Harris's rankings. There they are. Let's go to number 5 now, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and you have a meniscus injury for Jimmy Butler, requires surgery. They hope to have him back for the playoffs.
I have them in the top 5 still, simply because they've been doing a great job keeping their heads above water. They haven't been winning a ton of games. They haven't been losing a ton of games. They're trying to stay in the top 6 seeds in the West. They just, if they can keep a home playoff series, maybe get up to that 4, maybe even up to back to the 3 spot. If they can get up to there for the playoffs, I think they have a chance of winning a playoff series. But if they don't have home court advantage, I don't think they can win one.
Minnesota Timberwolves are at number 5. Let's go to number 4 now, the Boston Celtics. How about this? Kyrie Irving is currently getting more points per minute than any other player in the NBA post-All-Star break.
He's been absolutely immense. The team's been a lot better since the All-Star break. It's almost like they were exhausted and played a ridiculous amount of games in a ridiculously short amount of time.
Wait, you said that.
I said that. Oh, my God. What a surprise. They should have beaten Houston the other night. They folded down the stretch. It was one of their worst losses in the entire season. But look, they've been great since the All-Star break. They haven't beaten many good teams yet, but at the same time, I think that this is the Celtics team. They're going to play great defense. They play everyone hard. They're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. They need Gordon Hayward to come back, and boy, oh boy, Jason Tatum is stuck to that rookie wall. They need him to detach himself from the intricacies of the wall. He is so entrenched in the rookie wall right now. He can't do anything on the offensive side of the ball. It's kind of sad.
The Celts are at number 4. Let's go to the top 3, and we have the Toronto Raptors. You're keeping them up there, Harris.
I am keeping them up there because they're just fantastic. They're the best team in the East right now by a considerable margin, and I think they need to be considered the team to beat in the East. I'm sorry. They're better than the Cavs. They're better than the Celtics. They're better than the Wizards. They're better than everyone in the Eastern Conference right now. They've been great. They're on a 4-game winning streak again. They're rolling over teams. DeMar DeRozan's been great. He should be getting more MVP talk, but that's the Raptors for you. I love this Raptors team. I really do think that they finally reached a point where they are one of the best teams in the entire NBA. This is the year they're going to show in the playoffs.
So the Toronto Raptors rank among the top 5 in offensive efficiency, defensive efficiency, and net efficiency. So it sounds like this is the best opportunity we've seen in a long time for the Raptors to capture the NBA Finals.
I don't know if they can win the NBA Finals because I still question whether or not they're going to be able to play lockdown defense against the guards of the Rockets and the Warriors. But I think the advantage that they have against both teams is that they're so much better down low. I understand that Draymond Green is great, but the Raptors have both Serge Ibaka and Jonas Valanciunas who have been playing great so far this season, so they're a little bit better down low. I like Clint Capella, I do, but at the same time, he's not better than Serge Ibaka and Jonas Valanciunas. So if the Raptors are going to beat those two teams, it's going to be through their ability in the front court. And I think as of right now, they could take the Warriors to maybe 5 to 6 games, maybe take the Rockets to 6 or 7, but I don't think they're winning anything again this year.
Speaking of those Rockets, Harris, they are at number 2 in the power rankings, and you got a guy in the MVP race in James Harden and broke the internet last week as well. I mean, Houston just does everything right.
It's 1A and 1B. I was so close to putting them as the top team in the NBA right now. They're on a 15-game winning streak. They are seemingly unbeatable right now. They had a great comeback win against the Celtics the other night. I don't know. Can you put them above the Warriors? Like, can you really put a team above the Warriors? And that will always be the question. But they've done everything right this year so far. Everything has come up Rockets so far. Harden's been great. Chris Paul's been amazing. Cam, they're now 33-1 with Chris Paul, Clint Capella, and James Harden on the court at the same time. So I can't wait to see what happens in the playoffs. I really hope they don't fold again.
So the Rockets are at 2. That means this team is at number 1.
They're back.
The Golden State Warriors. Here they are, Harris.
They're back. They won their last 5 games. They're roasting teams all over the place. They beat the Thunder. They beat the Clippers. They beat the Wizards. They're back. It's fine. No need to worry. The Wizards are back. Or the Warriors.
Back to the status quo.
Yep, everything's fine. There's no problem. They were just tired. And then they kind of were like, we should probably start trying now. People are getting too excited about the Rockets. They're back. They're fine.
Let us know on the Cam Rogers Show which is the best team in the NBA as we stand. Give us a heart for the Warriors, a like for the Houston Rockets. Let's summarize Harris's fresh batch of NBA power rankings. We got the Sacramento Kings at 30, followed by the Hawks, Suns, Grizzlies, and Dallas Mavericks, the bottom feeders. Next slate of 5 here, the Magic, the Nets, the Bulls, the New York Knicks, and the Charlotte Hornets. Followed by 20 through 16, the Detroit Pistons, Los Angeles Lakers, Los Angeles Clippers, Utah Jazz, and Miami Heat. And then 15 through 11 here, Denver Nuggets, Milwaukee Bucks, Oklahoma City Thunder. Oof, looking rickety for them. Philadelphia 76ers, and then the Indiana Pacers. 10 through 6, Pelicans, Wizards, Trailblazers, San Antonio Spurs, Cleveland Cavs, and then the top 5 for Harris's power rankings this week. Minnesota Timberwolves, Boston Celtics, Toronto Raptors, Houston Rockets, and the Golden State Warriors. Wrapping up the power rankings there. You are watching the Cam Rogers Show here on Chat Sports Facebook Live. Harris on the program today. He'll be back here on Monday. I think we should do it again, my man.
I'm always down for a little NBA power ranking.
All right, appreciate it, sir. And we appreciate you for watching this show. I'll be back here 10 o'clock Eastern time on Wednesday. Take care, everybody.